going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And today we are going to be checking something that you should have already checked, and if you haven't checked, you should do it very shortly on your 392 Jeep Wrangler or any Jeep Wrangler or Gladiator with the automatic transfer case. And what I'm talking about with the automatic transfer case is the clutch-based transfer case. If your transfer case has a auto position on it, anywhere in its position, that is the clutch type transfer case. Now, very similar to the TRX, it also has a clutch type transfer case, and there were a whole bunch of TRXs that left the assembly line with the transfer case fluid low, whether that was a half quart, a quarter quart, or some of them did actually get filled up. But what everyone has found out for quite a while now, and what I actually am going to be checking on this 392 today, is the factory transfer case fluid level. Now, why this is so important on these clutch type transfer case equipped vehicles is the fluid is very critical or crucial in keeping the clutches cool and having the mechanism work like it's supposed to. So what we're going to be doing today is getting this thing into the shop, getting it up in the air, and checking the transfer case fluid level. I have not checked on this one yet, but I do obviously need to do that. So, like I said, we'll be getting this thing up in the air and checking the fluid level. Now, luckily, the Jeep 392 transfer case does not require a fancy or special fluid. All it requires is ATF4, automatic transmission fluid, just the red stuff that typically goes in transmissions. Unlike the TRX that requires a special Borg-Warner fluid, which is a weird hydraulic fluid, this is just good old-fashioned red ATF4. So if you want to use Mopar branded ATF4, all the more power to you, but you can absolutely go to your O'Reilly's, AutoZone, whatever you've got, and just get ATF plus 4 that is compatible with, you know, Mopar, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge vehicles, and it will literally work fine. So enough talking, let's get this thing in the shop and get to the fluid. All right, guys, so underneath the Jeep here, we are looking basically forward at the back of the transfer case. Over here we've got our drive shaft, over here we've got our exhaust, and this is where we are going to be checking and filling that transfer case. Right here is our transfer case fill plug. Correspondingly, down here is our transfer case drain plug. Now, like we talked about, if your vehicle doesn't have any miles like this one, all we're going to be doing is checking and filling or topping off. If your vehicle has a bunch of miles, this is a perfect time to drain the fluid and you know, fill the transfer case back up. Now, I'm doing this with the skid plate still on, since we are just topping off or checking the fluid here. But again, you could pull the skid plate here that is bolted from the fuel tank over to the cross member, or you always can drain into the skid plate. There are a bunch of holes. You can wipe it out when you're done. Just whatever you decide to do, you're gonna need to plan accordingly. But like I said, just checking and topping off. All we're going to be doing here is throwing a rag here on the cross member or the skid plate so we can pull our fill plug. Now, this is a 10mm Allen. I've got one here on a ratchet, and all we're going to be doing is just taking that loose. Now, guys, ideally we would pull this fill plug and fluid would run out of the thing, but like most guys have found out, and like we just found out on this one, there is no fluid coming out of the fill hole. Per Chrysler or Mopar, the fluid is supposed to be right there at the bottom of the fill plug. Typically, you would pull a fill plug and a little bit of fluid would kind of trickle out. So that is what we are going to be topping off here today. Like we talked about, we've got our bottle of ATF plus 4, and this one does have a little spout here, so we're just going to line that up with our fill hole and just top the thing off until we've got fluid running out. All right, so if you guys can see, we now have a little trail of fluid right here running out of the fill hole, and that is all we're going for. Now once we've got our fluid topped off, we are going to be able to get our fill plug threaded back in. And then use our 10mm Allen to tighten that fill plug down. Now this thing does not need to be crazy tight or flush with the transfer case. It is a, it's a fill plug. It's not holding anything together. We're just making sure the fluid stays in the transfer case. So now last but not least, we will get this thing all wiped off so we aren't dripping fluid. And guys, just like that, we now have a full transfer case for the first time since this thing was built and ran down the assembly line. All right guys, so we are back here in the garage now after leaving the shop, and as you guys saw, this thing was low on transfer case fluid, just kind of like they all are. Per the JlUR service information, that fluid level is supposed to be at the bottom of the fill hole. So like I kind of said when we were at the shop, that fluid needs to be right there at the bottom or kind of trickling out so you know it is full. Now, how much fluid did this thing take to get it full? This took a full half quart of fluid, which is a pretty large amount when you're considering a system that only holds a few quarts to begin with. So that is absolutely critical or crucial to have the correct fluid level to help with A, clutch temperature, B, clutch life, and C, the operation of the transfer case. There are a lot of 392s that I see come into the dealership with service four-wheel drive messages or service transfer case messages with clutch issues. So I kind of wonder how many of those would have not had those issues if they had the proper fluid from day one. So again, it just kind of depends on that factory worker, if they were feeling good that day, filling the thing up all the way or not. It seems like most of them, like the TRXs, did not get a full fill of transfer case fluid. So if your 392 is nice and new and fresh and has very little miles like this one, go ahead, crawl under there and top the thing off. But if you've got 20,000, 30,000 miles, it would be a really, really good opportunity to go ahead and drain the full system and then fill with fresh. Again, to kind of help with that clutch life and clutch wear, having nice fresh fluid. Again, you're gonna need more than just a quart. You'll need at least two. I guess I don't know offhand on a complete drain and fill, so I'm sorry I don't have that information. I can probably throw the service information here up on the screen as I'm talking. But like I said, if you've got 20,000, 30,000 miles, if it were my personal, I would be draining the transfer case and filling it totally full with fresh instead of just topping off, just to kind of help those clutches. So guys, hopefully this helps you out if you're a 392 owner, or like I said, it doesn't even matter if you are or aren't a 392 owner, if you have the automatic clutch type transfer case in your Wrangler or Gladiator, you're gonna wanna crawl under there and at least check and top off. So guys, thanks for coming out into the garage and doing hopefully a beneficial longevity mod here on the 392 and getting that transfer case fluid topped off so we can go out and keep beating on this thing and making sure it lasts. And guys, like I always say, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys later.